Right, so I think a lot of it came down to this draft. I actually really like what they did with this draft, though. They knew that they wanted to play very heavily around a jungler, which again they ended up picking the Rek'Sai. So they end up in a position where this Ari can do a massive amount of value, which is super good, just because she gets that kind of roaming potential. They do take the Ornn here because they're looking for a good ADC matchup, and Ornn just kind of complements most ADCs. So even throughout the draft, they're prioritizing Caltys very hard and basically giving her a lot of resources, which again really good. We get to see, so I like when teams B4-5 like good duos, because you get to see 4 picks from the enemy comp and then you can choose based around it. All you have to do is make sure what's the worst situation that can come out of R5. That's kind of one of the biggest keys to drafting on blue side. It's kind of like, what's the worst they can do if we don't lock that. So it started off very heavily through this early game. There we go. Windows Explorer, go away. So it was very much towards this early game that they really popped off. So even here, they kind of, even the way that G2 Sport is positioning is in a way that if they walk up to the brush, it's just an easy E. Unfortunately, they did have it warded, so they didn't actually know. But again, this early game, Caltys managed to get quite a nice lead in CS quite naturally. Again, I didn't like how Thresh was very easy to just keep throwing out Qs. One of the issues that you have when you just keep throwing Qs out is the danger that Q is available to use is sometimes more valuable than the potential hook that you can get, because you force your enemies to play a certain way to kind of play around you. So again, not bad though. This was really bad though. Like, so Rek'Sai did go for the 3-camp start, and then path into bot side. It was quite obvious from that because she did go Raptors on 3. So in terms of vitality, they should have known that that's what she was looking for, since they did have a ward here. But she walks down into bot side, but the issue is right here, she doesn't need to tunnel. So using tunnel is really bad, because all you want to do in this situation... Where's my pen gone again? Aha. So all you want to be doing in this situation is you just want to walk through like this. Thresh and Aphelios provide danger anyway, and all you want to do is stand here, force them to go up here, and then they lose XP. So this is way more valuable than actually getting the dive, because Thresh wasn't actually in position to get the dive either. If he was, he should have been around here to throw a hook up. So it felt like this dive was very rushed, or this was one of the moments where they weren't very coordinated with what they wanted to do. Especially Nami gets that bubble. Again, one of the big things with one of the kind of saving graces with this though is there wasn't really many minions for the Aphelios to farm. So they're not sharing XP 3 ways, which is really good. So that big slow push really came... It was beneficial. Now, even though the play didn't work out, I still respect the fact that they went for it and they tried it, because it was still... in terms of a macro level, it was still a really good play to make, and it was a very good coordinated play between Caltys and Sheena deciding to get that slow push into dive combo. Again, Ornn can kind of fist fight with Aphelios quite well due to the fact that he can negate the knockup from his Q. But this was kind of where I think it became a little bit rough, because you can't really look to just consistently dive onto the Talia, and because the Ahri had already used her charm, it just meant that the Talia was free to do what she wants, and giving that first blood over is not something that you want to do. But again, Talia popping those pots was like kind of crazy, so really good play here. Again, Tifa does get caught out by the Wukong just walking up and getting that play. Wukong did use flash in invisibility for that though, so it's kind of hard to predict. Like, he was invis and then he flash E'd. So it is kind of hard to kind of dodge. But again, that kind of 2v2 seems like they're a little off the mark. Now, this often comes when you change out players, and with Sheena being, from what I've seen, a last-minute replacement for Karina for whatever reason, it just means that 2v2 synergy isn't quite there as much as you would like to see anyway. Then again, game, it doesn't really matter as much, because again, we can see down here that Caltys is at 69 CS to 49, which is massive. Like, having 21 CS deficit at 7 minutes is massive, because you end up in a position where like 15 CS is 1 kill anyway, so she's already pretty much 1 kill in advantage, and she's got a cull, which cull does give a large payout, but when you take into consideration things like cost, it's 180 gold, which is still very, very good. But especially because she's already got a lead, it makes it even higher value, which is again just very, very valuable. And they do manage to get this Herald, which is really nice. Again, I would have potentially liked to see the Rek'Sai on Halo Blades with Dirks, but I guess her logic was she wanted Conks so that she could go Black Cleaver and amplify the Aphelios damage, which I guess makes sense, but it means that you do miss damage on the 2v2. If Rek'Sai did have Halo Blades in that fight in mid lane, I think she would have killed the Talia, or the Ahri would have killed Talia, so I think it was a slight kind of error with Rune Page, but again, they did more than make up for it, or I mean their team more than made up for it anyway. Again, really good gun rotations by Caltys though, making sure that she has red-white when it comes to objectives. So I did notice that one of the main kind of key points throughout all this is Caltys' gun rotation was very, very good, and the entire team played very much around those gun rotations, which again is a massive sign of kind of synergy. Here, I mean, they did try and freeze this wave. Well, they could have potentially looked to freeze this wave. What you should look to do if you're playing Ezreal Nami here is you should look to freeze this wave in place, considering the next one is coming, reset, and then you reset on the freeze. Now, previously it would have seemed a bit int because the wave is only coming out here, but it's only going to take about 15 seconds for it to get to here, and 7 seconds is their TP. So they could have potentially looked to freeze this wave, reset, and then come to it, but I guess they just wanted to reset it entirely, which again isn't the worst, because then they defend tower plates, but yeah, I mean, Caltys was just very big. We used the Herald bot, which again, really good to unlock the Aphelios and allow him to kind of play around this advantage that he's already achieved. Stormrazor Rush, again, very, very good. Stormrazor Gale Force is very common on ADCs at the moment, 400% crit scaling on Gale Force. Way too broken, so we will probably see some Gale Force nerfs, heavy nerfs soon, just because it scales way too strong now. But again, here we get really good rotation. Now, the reason why this rotation is good is because Dragon's not going to spawn for a little bit anyway, and even if Vitality set up perfectly to take the Dragon instead, then it's not going to be as kind of detrimental, because getting that Herald and allowing Aphelios to have even more gold early into the game is really, really big, especially for unlocking towers, because now they can push top out quite easily and they can use Herald to unlock. I think using Herald to unlock top was probably not the play. I think if they would have just played it slow, wait for the next wave and taken the tower, they could have then looked to rotate into mid with Herald. Herald, again, lasts now for a massive amount of time in comparison to what it did before. But, I mean, Cassante is kind of in a bit of a rough position. Did have ultimate, though. Should have used it to maybe just take Rek'Sai out of the fight and maybe provide some distance. But, again, a little bit risky in general. They did get that second kind of push on top tower though, which was really, really good for them. And again, like I was saying previously, we've still got a 30 CS advantage for Caltys on the Aphelios now, so that's massive. That's 2 kills already over the Ezreal, and the assist coming through. Again, in terms of Ezreal itemization, we can see that the point where you can see that the point where he decides to go into Essence Reaver. Now, Crit Cloak early into the game doesn't really provide that much value because it's only 15% crit, which if you do crit, fine, but again, Ezreal, you're just looking to do damage from far away anyway, so it's not really as valuable, whereas you just want the Sheen, and then you want to go straight into Mana Moon. So if they would have got the Mana Moon here, it would have given them a really big power spike, and then you can go into the Essence Reaver later, or even I guess you wouldn't go into... I guess you can build Trinity Force on Ezreal at the moment as well. And Trinity Force is very, very strong right now, but again, I think they wanted that Yumu's later on into the game, which fair enough. I mean, Yumu's is also a very broken item at the moment. And also, there's not really much opportunity for Ezreal to get multiple autos off in these kind of fights anyway, since you've got an Ahri trying to charm you, you've got a Thresh trying to jump on you, so it's the right choice to go into Essence Reaver, but I think getting Mana Moon first just provides way more value. So then again, we're about 2k up, well, like 1 to 2k up at the moment, which again is completely fine. But yet again, there. So Thresh, this was actually a good use of Flash, just making sure to not greed with it. Did manage to get the Ezreal and use this cleanse. I don't know why Ezreal decided to cleanse in this fight, especially considering the hook was nearly gone and there was no real way for them to engage. But again, now Caltys has Calibrum, longer attack range, 650 instead of the regular 600, can look to run up and, you know, get more kind of aggressive. But in general, this is probably the point where I feel the game started to kind of go very downhill, because we've got Gale Force being completed for the Aphelios now with this gold advantage still very, very big, especially considering Aphelios, even though they're both on 2 item spike, Aphelios has boots and also has a mythic, which is giving more value, so really, really big. Now this was, I don't know what Ali was doing here. She didn't even get caught. She just decided to kind of walk up for a pink ward, which you don't really need to ever do, and this ends up basically giving away not only the kill over to the side of G2, but also they managed to get this this dragon here as well, which again is really high value. I do think some of the decisions that G2 were making were a little bit slow. Like, for example, here, like Caltys and Tifa opted to walk down to the dragon instead of basically just securing mid. Now, it didn't really matter, but again, it's just a little bit slow in general. But this was a point where Tifa just walking up really, really far. Oh, no, sorry, it wasn't here. It was a little bit... Oh, no, it was here, right? No, it was a bit later where she got caught by the tower. But again, so at this point, again, Caltys, just the CS lead is growing more and more. Even without kills, it doesn't really matter too much. So one of the things I actually really liked about this game is even at 20 minutes, we've only got 4 kills, which, like, I really like seeing this because it means that both teams are very heavily respecting each other and playing the macro game, which I feel like in competitive, that's where you want to be. And that also shows that I think G2 are a little bit more prepared, or at least more prepared to play this comp anyway, due to the fact that... wait, what is it saying? Oh, yeah. Due to the... Oh, actually, when Ornn upgrades Gale Force, it shows... As it bought? I don't know. So, yeah, it's... In general, I just felt that G2 were a lot more coordinated with what they wanted to do and how they wanted to play. They're playing very much, I mean, the playstyle I like as well, which is very heavily around getting ADC very far ahead, peel them, just let them do as much damage as they need to and go from there, especially when you've got things like the overheal on Aphelios, which is just incredibly high value. Getting that massive shield is super good. Like, as you can see here, huge shield from overheal, and has red too. So this each line is 100 HP, so 1, 2, 3, so about 400 HP coming through just off that shield, which again, very good. They did get the, so this again a little bit risky, they managed to get the Nami's flash here, but Tifa did just kind of jump forward, which again you don't really need to do, especially when you've got an Ornn. You want to let the Ornn go first and then play around that. But yeah, also a little bit awkward on the Ornn. I think what they could have done instead is, instead of just insta using it like this, they could have walked down through this area and then looked to use it up like this, because this is a much higher value area to use Ornn, because it's very hard to actually dodge it in this kind of position. It did work out though, so it wasn't the worst. But again, they did manage to get quite a lot on the Talia, but it was this kind of jumping in just ends up with Tifa getting popped. Fortunately for her, the Aphelios is absolutely massive, so just kind of does a ton of damage and somewhat salvages the fight a little bit, manages to kill 2 of them off in return for, I mean 2, but one of them is support. And now this was the this is the how to actually play Aphelios when you get this far ahead. Calibrum into White Gun just does so much damage. It, combined with Gale Force as well, just absolutely deletes the Nami off the rift. And now gets another dragon, which again, is third dragon. And Hextech Soul, actually no, that was second dragon because it was Ocean Soul. And then, yeah, at this point, again, like, you not only have the Aphelios getting funneled like crazy, again, like this huge 70 CS lead pretty much, but you also have the ornaments coming through as well, giving another 1,000 gold over to their team. This was good from Sheena, though, to actually back away from this, knowing that Wukong had used his W, and, you know, like, there's no point over chasing it, so quite controlled gameplay as well, which is really good to see, especially considering, again, like I said, this Black Cleaver coming through to amplify the Aphelios damage even more. But at this point, it just kind of felt like they'd taken over the game. As I said, while it was live, the only thing that they are kind of waiting on here is the Aphelios red-white to come up. But this kind of macro play is really good. Aphelios resets, is going to look to Salt Guns, walks up through mid, gets mid prio. So walks up through mid, gets mid prio. Oh, you can't see it because of camera. Let me show it on Rift Kit first, because it's something that a lot of teams do not do, which they should do. Come up through mid, and you can see she comes up, gets prio in mid, and then they walk into the top side. They get control of vision in the top side, and then instead of just instantly flipping an objective, they come back through mid, Salt Guns out, get prio again, and now they already have all of this area controlled with vision. So now with this prio, they can now move up into Baron and look to get it quite safely. So this is something that a lot of teams often kind of disrespect and don't really follow, and they think I've got vision, so it's fine. Whereas mid prio is something that you have to kind of respect, and you have to kind of understand how it works. So here, as you can see, Aphelios comes, pushes this out. They walk up, they get vision in this area, come back, push mid again, get prio once more, and then they look to walk up with good guns. Caltys is about to exchange blue gun for white. So here, see, comes back through, pushes mid out, blue gun used up, walks up, gets Baron with well, white is about to come. So again, now has white. Now can just look to fight them as much as possible. So here, I would have potentially liked to see the fight, but one thing that they did do here, which was really good, is they got the Cassante TP. So now what they can do is they don't really need to continue it. They've already got enough advantage from the TP. It's unfortunate that she's going to lose red-white from it, but they've got enough advantage from the TP now that Ornn can basically look to push out bot. Or, I mean, Ari also has TP, I guess, but it just means that they have TP advantage. I would have liked to potentially see Ornn go bot, but I don't think it matters. I think if this game wasn't so favoured for the Aphelios, we would have seen Ornn look to push bot and use that TP advantage, but Tifa did actually push a nice big wave up here, so they're going to end up losing this, and because it's actually delayed here, it's still going to come back, not as quick as it would if it crashed the tower, but it's still going to bounce back into G2, so if this fight doesn't go 100% to plan, then go and claim that at a later point, and it's fine. But again, Cassante just getting completely caught here. Threshold comes through, and Ornn just follows it up, and very, very hard for him to actually do much, especially with Caltys just free hitting in the back. Like we can see back here, red-white guns just doing massive amounts of damage here, and there's not really much that can be done. Again, swapping to white for that big amount of damage, but unfortunately he ends up going back to Calibrum, but this can be used to potentially get some more here. Does whiff the ultimate, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't think she needed to ult there. I think holding on to the ultimate until they're going for a Baron and then looking to potentially turn it with ult, get an ace into Baron at the end was probably the better play, but again, it was already, they were already so far ahead that it didn't really matter too much. And again, just really clean macro. Again, not even that many kills, to be honest. Like 12 kills in total, really not that much. And then again, just looking clean macro to end it out. So again, I don't think that I think both of these teams respected each other a lot. I think with G2 help winning this so hard, I think maybe in the next one they might potentially look to be a bit more aggressive, but I don't think they need to. I think they're just here to play a clean tournament, win it out, and then just go from there, really. So let's see what they're going to do in Game 2, and let's see if Vitality can actually bring this back, which they can. I mean, they didn't play it terribly, just they didn't prioritize where they should as much, and Caltys got huge. So, yeah, let's